The suspense has got to be killing you, man. Oh, man. I was trying to play with the timing on this whole thing. I was going to try to play with the timing on this whole thing, and I think I played with it too long. Now, why didn't my settings get saved? That's weird. Well, welcome to the TORAH Talk. Tonight, episode number 8. Rabbi Chaim Coffman from the Holy Land. Man, I've got your screen all jacked up. I had it fixed a minute ago, and it just like all of a sudden reset. That's okay, though. We can deal with it. So, Rabbi, how are you doing, sir? It's good to have you back in the studio.
Doing great.
If you could just...
doing great. Hopefully the system will stand up and, everything will be good.
Well, you're already messing something up because I had your screen and everything perfectly set. And when I went to go push play, everything like shrunk up really big. So let me fix that while we talk. You can go ahead and talk to us a little bit. I see I've got it right there, mate. See, this is one of those rare opportunities where people can see exactly how adjustments get made. Well, not really, because you can't see the buttons I'm pushing. I really am kind of curious why. You see, you always have this ability to really mess up my stuff, and I don't know how you do it, man.
It's a special power, don't mess.
You have got the power, mate. Yeah, right. Okay, I'm almost got you up, right? Just a few seconds. So, cool deal, man. So this week we're going to have a pretty interesting topic flow. Would you like to kind of tell us a little bit about what tonight's going to be about?
Yeah, tonight we are going to speak about whether it's permissible or not for somebody to charge money for classes. Or, let's say, conversion classes, no-hide classes, or, to teach Torah in general. But,
right.
in, these type of classes in specific.
Very good. And that it is definitely a hot topic, especially this past few weeks. It's been very hot. And so, and if we have time, I might stretch you out a little longer tonight if you're good for it. I'd like to go right on into a little Lashon Hara. Let's discuss if you're cool with that, because I actually have my own questions about it that I would like to have the answers to. So, and I know probably a lot of people would as well. So, without further ado, let's get kicked off, and we will start rocking this boat a little bit.
Okay. There's the first thing that I want to make clear, and I was taken to task, on this as well, is that what is the source? Like, show me a source, that it's permissible, to take money, to do this. So I made a video about this as well. You can see it on my YouTube channel, Rabbi Chaim Coffman, about this topic. But in general, there's a question: is a Jew allowed to take money for Torah, to teach Torah? Right? The question's asked in the Talmud, and specifically, let's say someone teaches children, right? How are you allowed? That's the question the Talmud asks. How are you allowed to take money, to teach Torah? So the Talmud answers over there that it's permissible because when you're teaching children, even if you're giving them information about the Torah and what you're supposed to do and this and that, and teaching them at their level, nonetheless, what are you doing? Basically, you're just doing, it's like classroom control. So you're really getting paid, to be a nanny in a certain way. So for that, that is permissible. Now, it used to be that there was a command. I mean, it still is. There's a command for a father, to teach his son. And, today that's sort of gone out it's gone out because, people, it'd be very hard if you had an obligation to teach your children and, you still have to make livelihood and do other things, as well. So, this institution of schooling sort of took place, and, and if schooling's no good, or there is no schooling where the person lives, so then you have to hire private people in order to do that. So, so that's the general question. So it comes along the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, and Yeridea 246, Halacha number 5, says clear. And again, I want to make sure everyone understands. It's clear if someone, if that's their livelihood, and that's their only livelihood, that's 100%, That's 100% permissible. There's nothing to talk about. Now, the Shulchan Aruch continues and says, let's say you have livelihood, right? Let's say you're making enough money and you want to do this as well. So the Shulchan Aruch there says that it's permissible, but, of course, there's always a but, and the but is you're not allowed to squeeze people. Now, squeezing people means you're not allowed to charge exorbitant rates. You can charge like what your time is worth, but, beyond that, you wouldn't be able to. So let's say you had someone who's a lawyer, for instance, and he's charging $300-400, an hour or whatever it is. And let's say he's making plenty of money. And now he wants to, give someone advice. Someone comes to him, he wants advice. He's already making plenty of money, right? So if he says, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm going to charge you $1,000, right? I'm going to charge you, an exorbitant amount. Now, he's got the right to do that. If he wants, if someone wants to pay it, that's their choice. When it comes to Torah, that's not true. That you're not allowed to, that you're not allowed to do. So in essence, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, we're going to make a little bit of a jump. We'll put aside Jewish law for a second. Let's look at it logically. Now, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, on this issue. Now, logically speaking, if there's a question whether it's permissible to teach, Jews, children, adults, whatever it is, if according to the Torah, as we mentioned, it's 100% permissible, then I would think, now this is not a leap of faith over here, I would say, based on that since it's permissible for that, why can't I charge, or a person, won't use me, right. Why can't a person charge a non-Jew, a convert, in the process of conversion? I mean, that's not illogical. If it's permissible to charge for a Jew, it's definitely permissible to charge a non-Jew. Now, let's look at the issue from another angle. The other angle is if you take most Orthodox rabbis today and, in the community where they live, the money they make is definitely not enough to live on. Certainly people who teach the same thing, right? There's a huge issue with this. We can discuss that as well. But in general, they are not making enough money to live, so they have more than one job. Now, what happens, if it's not part of their job description, let's say to learn with people privately. Let's say that's not part of their job description. Are they allowed to charge someone for their time? They should be allowed to charge for their time if it's not part of their contract. Mm-hmm. If it's in their contract and that, part of what they do is bar mitzvah lessons, they teach people how to read Torah, other things, if you charge, okay, that's extortion, right? That you shouldn't be allowed to do. You're milking the public. That's mm-hmm. Right, that definitely should be forbidden, right? So, but most of these people would say that they have to do other things, in order to make ends meet. So if they're as long as they're not charging exorbitant rates, there shouldn't be anything wrong with it. At the same time, when it comes to anything else, and this is really what I think the crux of the issue is where people sort of get lost a little bit, is with anything else. You have a plumber comes to your house, got a broken pipe, which I had, he's going to charge you to fix it. And if you did something stupid, I have a friend of mine who's a computer consultant, and he's told me a number of times, he walks into someone's house, they couldn't figure out how to turn on the computer, you're going to get charged $100. Right? That's it. Mm-hmm. There's no haggling unless you're a Jew. You gotta say, well, can you cut me some slack? Can I pay a little bit less? Can I pay you in installments? But in general, you're not going to haggle with the guy who's going to fix your freezer. You're not going to, haggle with a lawyer, whatever he's going to charge. Right. I mean, within reason. So why in the world should this be any different? So I'll tell you why. People coming out of Christianity, The church has gazillions of dollars. They have billions of dollars, a lot of it, unfortunately, trying to convert, Jews. They have a ton of money all over the place. So the billions of dollars that they have, so people come in, they don't have to pay. How do they snatch up people as well? They prey on poor people. They say, don't worry, we'll take care of you. This guy hanging on a stick, he loves you. We're going to help you. We'll throw money at you. All you have to do is believe in him. Your mortgage is taken care of. You got food on the table. A person suffering now, everything, is a lot easier. They got plenty of money. So someone coming out and says, wow, we've had this for so long and it's free, and, we don't have to pay anything. Why in the world, if I want to come in and I want to be part of the Jewish people, what right you have to take money for it? Now, there will be unscrupulous people, no question. I've seen it myself, that, will charge an arm and a leg. That's insane, right? That is not permissible. I'm not going to answer why they do it. That's their issue. As someone told me, in certain places you want to convert, it's going to cost you $10,000. Who says that's right? In a perfect world, people who don't charge, I think it's great. If they can do it. If they're able to do it, that's a tremendous thing. But not everyone's able to, not everyone's able to do that. But at the same time, there are two potential reasons why someone may charge. One reason is because, they prepare. Their time is worth something. They're giving over an expertise, right? So that's worth something. Not quite how much is it worth? Okay, that's a question. Mm-hmm. At the same time, somebody who pays and is not getting it for free looks at it differently. They'll take what they do more seriously, if they do have to pay. Which I understand as well, because if you do anything and it costs you money, you're going to buy a new system. You're going to look into exactly, what the costs are, what it is, and, how it's going to last, and what, all these different things, because this is something you're going to use for the future. But what
Right.
goes on, I think what most people don't understand either is, if someone just comes over and teaches material, and then he said, okay, go fly a kite, go hit by a truck. I don't care what you do. Just pay me money. I'll give you the class, go away. So I had a great idea once, a great, fundraising idea for myself. I was going to tape all my classes, put them on CD, and I was going to call it Conversion in a Box, and I was going to hawk it on eBay, for like $400. I was like, wow, what a great idea. Problem is, it's totally immoral.
Right.
I could say, listen to the videos, go through the CDs, and, every few weeks, we'll be in touch. I'll ask you some questions. I'll see if you understand. But that's not what's going on.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why would that be immoral? Because that would be something that, let's say it was you, that would be years of work that you dedicated to it, the cost and the time it took to create the CDs and packaging and all this other stuff. That takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. Honestly, from my end, if you had Conversion in a Box, I would actually buy it, $400 or not. I don't care. I know what things are worth, and I know what time is worth, And it's like, which is another reason why I'm glad we're talking about this, because, I've been not a lot, but just a tiny bit, have been catching flack myself for accepting donations or even asking for donations. And I'm thinking, most of the people that I have encountered who have problems with this idea are people who left the church. They carry so much baggage with them from the church, and being hurt by pastors taking their tithe is some baggage that's really hard to let go of. And I know that has a huge effect on people, but one thing I just got to say is, if someone is for like myself, a year and a half or at least a year, completely self-funded, for a full year, never asked anybody for a penny. In fact, the first time I ever did it is because somebody said, man, you need to do a GoFundMe or something. And I was like, what's that? I wasn't about to ask anybody for money. I enjoy paying for this myself. But sometimes you can't. And it's like in those times, it's like, I've got something coming up now, and I personally, I've told you, Rabbi, also about the computer issue. I've got to upgrade to an i7, a video card. I'm going to do my best to pay for that myself out of pocket. And if I come short, I'll take the donations that people have been giving in. So people have been doing that. Thank you all, by the way. And I'll put all this stuff together and buy it. And I'm not going to complain about it. But see, people who complain about people like you, people like Jason, people like me, people like whoever, for doing stuff like this, they have no clue what time and money investment goes into this. I mean, probably to date, I've got probably close to $18,000 to $20,000 invested into TORAH Talk. To date, I think I've probably got around $5,000 or $6,000 of donations for 2 years, and most of that money came from like 2 large donors, believe it or not. Two, you know what I'm saying? So, and then a lot of small donors. And so it would take, at this rate, it would take me another 2 to 3 years of the same amount of donations just to get caught up on the money I already put into it. Which brings me.
If I blew up your system again, you'd be dead. So
You're the reason. Oh my, no, I'm just kidding. So the idea is this. My thought and this is my conviction. If someone is actually giving you something, now I'm not talking about a phone call. I'm not talking about, friendly advice. I'm talking about a tangible product. Why do you complain? You get it for free for most, for a lot of cases, you get it for free. And then some people will actually complain when that free thing that they depend on week after week after week, all of a sudden they have a money need and they want to complain about it. You know what that makes me think? I don't want you as my friend because true friends will bail friends out when they're hurting, right? So with what you're doing, I couldn't even imagine, this is just my personal opinion, I couldn't even imagine anybody taking issue with what you do, because you're providing a service and a product in a sense.
But it could be that people are in dire straits, and there are plenty of people out there, that do have difficulty, and whatever the case is. So in that sense, one thing I didn't mention, is the fact that this is what it is. If people can pay it, they should. If they can't in their underlying circumstances, I'm not going to turn someone away because of it. Other people may do that. Good.
That's good.
That's not something in my conscience,
good,
to do, because it's, if I ran what I do like a business, I'd be broke. So yeah. I'm more interested that people get helped, and they get the information,
but
more
they
than
shouldn't
anything
expect,
else.
But they should not expect.
Time is worth something.
Yeah, and people realistically should not expect a service for free. If it's a legitimate service, especially something that somebody does for a living. I mean, I cannot tell you on one hand how many times I've ever gone anywhere, restaurant, gas station, lemonade stand, and demanded something or wanted something, and then got upset because they wanted money for it.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is cognitive dissonance, because in any other area, a person might think they might get ripped off. You take, internet marketing courses. It does work. Right. It doesn't work. Whatever people charge because you want to build your business or whatever the case is, nobody has issues.
Mm-hmm.
When you mention this, they say, no, you can't do it. Okay, what about a plumber? Yeah, I'll pay for a plumber. Computer? Yes, I'll pay whatever, get my computer working. What about, this? What about that? When it comes, someone mentioned as well, when it comes to education, you go through, any university, any college, any course. Doesn't matter what the course is. Any course, there are these free universities for different things that, that people can take. But in general, they ain't going to do it for free.
Right.
That's
right.
This is education. So actually, one of the things you touched on, I think, an important thing to flush out, and that is, if I would, hawk all my CDs and put it on, hawk it on eBay, my conversion in a box, why would I call that immoral? For one very simple reason. When it comes to people who want to convert, and, they want to show they're the real deal, getting the information, that's only part of it. Knowing what to do, knowing what blessing to make, knowing how to shake a lulav, knowing how to, light Hanukkah candles and, all these different things, that's information.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a lot of information you can get just by reading. There's plenty of free information out there. So then you're going to say, okay, if there's so much free information out there, so why they need somebody like you, right? So the simple answer is you try and navigate.
Mm-hmm.
You try and take all that information and do what you need to do and understand what you need to do. It's an impossibility. Doesn't mean people are stupid.
Hey, I bought a copy of the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, but it's in an English translation. And I was excited because I've got a copy of the Zohar, and I like the Zohar because it's broken down in Torah Parsha. It makes it very easy to find your place. But I was like trying to do a study on the Talmud one day, and I was like, I just had this idea. I was like, I'm going to go and check this out. And I started looking, and I looked at the index. It was really funny. Maybe they're not all like this, but mine is. Open it up at the very front. It says Chapter 1, Chapter 2. Chapter 3 has no topical index at all. They just say Chapter 1, page here, Chapter 2. I'm like, are you kidding me? So it would take me like 20 years to read this whole thing and itemize what each chapter, the information is. Just navigating in that thing was incredibly difficult. It took me a while to wrap my head around how they break down the each one of the
truncates. But that's the whole thing. In something like this, somebody needs proper guidance.
Yeah, they do. Right.
Again, it doesn't mean people are stupid, by any stretch. What it means is someone has an expertise and they are going to save you a ton of time. In order to do that. One of the things that is going to be coming out shortly, hopefully within the next few weeks, is a course, that I set up for people coming out of idolatry, Christianity, whatever it is, and giving them information of exactly, if they want to convert, this is what you have to do. And this is what Judaism is, this is what the holidays are. You don't want to convert, this is what it means to be a Noahide, right? And, these are the things that you have to do and difficulties and finding a community and finding a rabbi and all, and all that. Because once somebody comes out, their whole mentality has to change. Right, you got to be able to find your path, in that way. So, someone can say, well, I can find that information myself. I can do all this myself. Okay.
Good luck.
Go. You can do that. I'm not. People. People don't need me. That's fine. I'll find people that do. But, in general, it's a, the reason I put this thing together is because people have spent years and years and years spinning their wheels, right? Now they come out, they say, can I convert? I can't convert. I can't do this. I can't do that. They see so many different things. This is going to solidify which way possibly I want to go. Don't say, that's proselytization. No, that's giving people information to make a choice. I'm not making any choice, for anyone. That is, going to be their choice. But even, more importantly than, any of the information, so to speak, is getting guidance for someone who can help you navigate that path. That is not squeezing somebody, and taking, it's like a bully who takes your lunch money, he's going to eat your sandwich now. Now you have no money to buy a sandwich. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, this is a life-changing thing. This is about going against your family, going against society, going against everybody and being left all by yourself. And if you don't have somebody to guide you or to help you, you're going to feel crushed.
Absolutely.
That's just the reality. There are people that make it pretty far, somewhat, without anybody. I mean, I have a story of somebody came out of Christianity, went to be Mennonites, they became Amish, they went to being a Messianic. From being a Messianic, they went to be a Noahide, and then they went to Reform and Conservative Judaism, and then, you're talking 4 different stages before they actually came, to Orthodox Judaism. Now, they spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of wasted money, right? They'll admit themselves. And they spun themselves around in circles. Had they found out what it really was at the beginning and seen this information, would have saved them a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Sure, absolutely.
So then someone will say, oh, you can't charge for that. That's extortion. This is saving you time, effort, and giving guidance at the same time. That guidance itself for what I do, in general, answering people's questions, I don't take money for that. People want to talk.
That brings up another point. I've recently heard a concern. Let me see if I can put this the right way. A complaint has come up that says, well, I do spend a lot of time counseling people or guiding them, and
Right.
Wouldn't that be okay to charge for? And I'm thinking, people who give life counseling for a living, they went to
Right.
school for that. They paid thousands upon thousands of dollars to learn how to do that, just so that they
Right.
could have a business doing that. They can charge for it. That's what they do for a living. Me, I cannot tell you how many phone calls I take a week. I never charge people to give them marriage counseling or friendship counseling or anything like that. I would never even dream of it. Now,
Because you
granted,
ruin people's lives.
yeah, I want them to survive. I don't want them to kill me.
They should pay. You should be paying them.
I know, right? So at the end of the day, it's like it would just never cross my mind to want somebody to. I mean, now granted, if I had gone to college for that, you bet your sweet hiney I would be charging for it. I'd be charging what the going rate is.
Again, it depends. It depends. It depends what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is if this is the whole package or it's a one. If it's a one thing. If it's a one shot deal. You just go in, you go out. You give classes, you don't do anything else. It's never cut and dry.
Yeah, right. Sure.
People have questions about family, about their spouse, about about other things, etc. Could a person charge on top of that? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And if they do, I don't have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an issue with it because they have what to give. You're relying on them. Hopefully they don't mess you up in the process. But you are relying. You are relying on them. Now some people will say, well, someone took me to task and said, you're making life so much more difficult for people to convert. So I said, you know what the hardest thing is? The hardest thing for a person to convert in general is to move into a Jewish community. If your house isn't worth as much, they say you move in, to a black neighborhood, the prices go up or down depending which way. But in general, you move into a Jewish neighborhood, kosher food, all these things, they cost money. So someone says, you're stopping them. You're putting a stumbling block in front of people to convert. So if a person can't afford to move, right, at least at this stage, doesn't mean they can't learn either. But that's not gonna be the thing that's gonna stop them. What are you gonna do? Not eat kosher food on Passover because it costs 4 times the price? If you have kids, you're gonna educate them. Okay, you try and make a deal with the school. Because tuition's like college tuition outside of New York and New Jersey, which is absolutely crazy. But that's what it is. It's not cheap to do it, and most people understand. Most people understand that. If a person was charging $2,000 a month, that could be an impediment. That I hear. that we're not even talking close to that. So, but in the meantime, I would think even if a person couldn't afford that, you're still better off. Learning and getting what you need, because again, in my case, I'm not speaking for everybody, I'll speak for myself. In my case, I'm not going to throw away anyone because of it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, a person has to pay whatever they can pay. They should.
Right.
But that is not going, again, nickels and dimes in general is not going to stop, a person from moving into a community. It's not going to do it. A person has to bite the bullet and get what they need. Then whatever, eventually when they move, they move. But, that's the way it has to be looked at. It's, you're stopping people and you're doing this. It's not true. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not taking personal offense. I understand. I definitely understand where people are coming from, but, at the same time, A, it's not extortion, and B, it's not an impediment to conversion. People can take a look at my blog, other things. People are very, very happy, what they go through, even though I yell and scream and jump up and down and call them names and everything else. Okay, that's part, it's part of the suffering process in this world, but, at the end of the day, people get what they need.
Yeah, sure.
People get exactly what they need. So if that's true, then okay, I understand people are squeezed, and people go through difficult life situations. I hear that, but at the end of the day, you want to get from A to B. So you say, well, I can get from A to B myself. Okay, so do it yourself. Absolutely do it yourself. So, I can't stop that. And people want to do that. That's their, that's their choice. I can certainly help to facilitate that. I know other people can do the same. But at the same time, it's a question of mentality. And as you mentioned, 100%, that when it comes to, when it comes to people coming out, out of the church, they want everything for free. And we should live in a world, we should live in a world like that. There are a lot of Jews that have money,
Right.
but they don't have money like the church. We're not talking, billions and billions, even though we give percentage-wise more charity than anybody else. That there's absolutely no, question. At the same time, nobody should ever expect that they should get something for free. It's just in every other realm of life, it's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally not like that. It's just in this case, there is a bona fide question: how in the world can a person take money for teaching Torah? That's a legitimate question. Mm-hmm. It's not my question. The Torah asked it. Mm-hmm. The Talmud asked it. And there's a whole discussion, of exactly how it works and why it should or it shouldn't or whatever. It's again, it's not an offensive. I don't personally take offense.
But here's the question I've got for you.
One second. I don't take offense to it. I just want people to understand that there's a reality, that's out there, and they have to understand where it comes from.
My statement would be this: what you're doing, what you're charging for, is not teaching Torah. You're teaching conversion. Now, granted, Torah is in it, but you're getting, like for me, I'm going to convert one day. I hope to be dealing with you on this, right? When that time comes, you're going to teach me.
Price will be double.
You're going to teach me the principles of conversion, how I should behave, what I need to learn, and all this stuff, which technically is oral Torah, not Torah. Okay.
Right.
Now I'm using those terms for the other ears that are listening in.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So for someone to say, well, you're charging for teaching Torah, no, you're not. You're charging to teach them how to behave as a Jew. Now, granted,
but you're teaching Torah in general.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
there's a whole question: how you're allowed to teach a non-Jew Torah anyway, which we're not going to get into now. But in general, what are you learning? You're learning about blessings, about kashrus, about Shabbos. I mean, it's all Torah.
Right.
It's definitely a lot of it's oral tradition also. Where it comes from and what the purpose is, and certainly all that. Again, at the same time, a lot of stuff that is done. And someone actually asked me this recently. Within the last month, they said they want to give classes. They want to give classes, I think, to Spanish speakers, and they wanted to know. They saw my site and this and that. They wanted to know, if I would help them. So I said, well, what can I help you with? So I said, well, can you send me, classes, and stuff and information. So I said, well, it took me a year and a half to organize this information. I'll tell you the books I got it from, and that's what I did. I took it from, certain books or whatever. So I said, you can do the same thing. Take a look, organize it. This is how I organized it. But, I'm not selling that. Mm-hmm. That's something I put a tremendous amount of effort in, to do and to give over. But again, it's information that's out there. It's not, I just sort of put it together and package it. That's right. That's, that's it. But again, at the same time, someone says, well, can I get that information? I mean, I'm not going to charge him for the information, but I put a tremendous amount of effort into it. That's the point. I'm not going to, I'll give an example. Somebody, and this is a big problem. It's been a big problem for a while, and that is somebody makes music. They spend hundreds of hours in the studio, and they record. And they have to go back and they have to edit and whatever. They spend tons of money doing this. Come out with the CD. One person buys it and 50 million people copy it. Mm-hmm. That's forbidden.
Mm-hmm.
That is 100% forbidden. The whole question, copyright in general,
Mm-hmm.
How a person, is allowed to, make backup copies for themselves. That you're allowed to do.
Right, just not for
But
distribution.
in general, they are spending tens of hours and thousands of dollars. That's stealing.
Mm-hmm.
You are stealing their livelihood. They put effort in, they organize it, they, make up their own beats, they, all these different things. So, if that's true, so the guy's like, so why don't you just give me the information? I'm like, why don't you go fall off the planet? Why don't you go take a long walk? Why should I give over that information?
Mm-hmm. You know what? I have to tell you right now, just to give everybody a fair warning. First of all, number one, I'll never charge for Tanakh Talk. I mean, some I've seen some YouTube channels, they'll say, donate $1 per view. That's a great idea. I think it's great because I mean, right now, if I had $1 for every view click that was on YouTube, I'd have $350,000 right now. So that'd be nice. But no, that's not my...
for all the hate mail I get.
But I will tell you this: I'm never charged for Tanakh Talk viewing at all, YouTube any other way. However, I do have a plan in about a year from now that I will charge for, but it ain't Tanakh Talk. It's going to be for past episodes because of the way I'm going to package these things, and I'm going to put the DVDs together with titles on them, and each one will come with a sleeve telling you what the topic is and where to find it on the DVD. Just like if you were buying, a movie and it has chapters, or a CD that's got song titles. And I promise you, I will not be giving those away because that's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time. Time more than anything. For me to stop and actually edit one video, Rabbi, like especially one of Rabbi Singer's. Gosh, that guy's long-winded. I love his stuff though. 2.5 hours. You can't just watch it in 2.5 hours and do what you got to do. It takes 4 hours, 5 hours to do that because you got to stop, pause, write it down, back it up, find the time marker, write it down again. And it's like, so with literally hours and hours and hours just spent on one show, I'm like, for me to give that away as a reproduction would be I don't think it would be a good steward, to be honest with you. I really don't.
If you want to kill your business, just put my face on the DVD. That'll take care of it right there. You won't have to worry. We'll just shut it down.
Oh no.
But that it's again, it's you're putting effort in. Mm-hmm. You're putting time in.
It's a product.
Yeah, it's not just the product itself. I mean that is what it is. But I don't think people understand what goes into all these different things. And if you ever did decide to charge, that's certainly your choice. Your time is worth something. That's for sure. If it's just for upkeep of what you do, why should that? People want to get offended by it, they can, but you're not a multimillionaire yet. Mm-hmm. If you would, I'd be also, but it's hasn't quite worked out that way yet. But in general, that would be your right. Certainly to do that, and take my hat off to you, which I don't have a Tanakh Talk hat yet, but nonetheless.
Hey, I don't even have. Well, actually, I lied. I've got one Tanakh Talk hat, and the dude screwed up on it, so I got it for free. Okay, and it's because he stitched it on there crooked. I can't even get this thing shit right. So I am going to do that though, and you're going to be the first person who gets one. I'm going to make probably about 25 of them. I'm going to give one to you just because you're just so stinking awesome.
Lifetime edition.
And then I'm going to do. And then I'm going to figure out another way. I'm going to try to figure out a cool way to disperse the other 23. I have to have one. So there you go. All right.
No, but at the end of the day, all the time and effort, and you've put your own money in. That's definitely a feather in your cap, no question.
Sure.
You don't have to do that. But you love what you do, and you give a lot of people a lot of good information, and that's definitely worth something. There's no, that there's no question. But again, topic at hand. Nobody would ever have an issue with anything else.
Mm-hmm, true.
It's specifically, and I made this, you can see it's a blistering video. I don't recommend seeing it. It's pretty harsh. But, at the end of the day, nobody would ever make an issue about anything else. They may complain how much it costs. They may complain about any number of things. Nobody is going to complain about paying for something that's worth something.
Right.
I mean, unless they get ripped off.
Yeah, true.
But and that is really, to me, that's really the thing that, like, sort of digs at me, because, nobody has issue with anything else, with other, with other things. Are there people out there that don't charge? Yeah. Someone told me that's great, and, no, people should do that. And someone just sent me a text about that as well. It's too bad, that you have to do this. Much better, it's free and blah. Yeah, it is, 100%.
You want to hear something weird on a kind of a psychological standpoint? When I was in the church, I was part of this group called Youth Force Ministries. A dear friend of mine, Steve Russo, was the leader of this group. Anyway, we had this little full-blown theatrical team that we did. We did like a band thing at the end of the deal with the concerts, rock music, Christian rock music and stuff, and did a play with all these dramas, and did brick breaking like the power team. And in fact, I broke these 2 bones doing that. Not the first time, unfortunately. But the point is, we did a lot of shows, and we did them all for free. And we would have a decent, really small turnout, really. But really, it wasn't until we actually charged for it, $5 a ticket, all of a sudden the whole place was packed because we charged for it, And granted, it was costing them money. He had to pay for all the bricks and all the music equipment, but he was compelled to do it for free. But it wasn't until you actually put a value on it where people began to respect it. Right? And so for me, the way I view this whole thing, especially with conversion and Judaism above anything else, I mean, if anything in this world has value, isn't my relationship with Hashem and how I practice it, shouldn't that be on the top, right? And so for me, I've already determined if I go to a community and conversion is free, fine. If I go to a community and they want to charge $5,000, fine. I don't care. Hashem is the one who directs my path. He's the one who provides for me. And if it's within his boundaries for me to convert, the money will be there, whether I complain about it or not. So
it will be or it won't be. Not everyone's in that situation. That's why most people don't end up converting, because they can't move or
right.
Whatever. But 100% that a person goes to learn by somebody, whatever the case is. Keep in mind, unless they're relatively young, keep in mind they've been learning for years.
Mm-hmm, sure.
For years. 10 years, 15 years. Whatever it is, they've been sitting, on their behind, going through these texts and learning, and the early commentators, later commentators. It's not an easy thing. People think, you just sit and learn Torah. You think it's so easy? You try it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make as much money. It's hard as anything. Your brains feel like they're gonna fall on the floor because you're you're maxing out, and people think look how easy it is. You want to try it? You want to see how easy it is? But again, it's expertise, it's packaging, it's how to get the information out, and not everyone's qualified to do it either.
Right.
You got plenty of rabbinic scholars out there, certainly much bigger than me, but when it comes to giving over information, or whatever the case is, they have a much more difficult time because they're holding, way up here, so to speak, and that's also worth something, but it's not exactly, it's not exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Even in secular schooling, for instance, you get a professor, okay, so you say he's got to write, if he's a university professor, he's got to be, get a PhD, just pilot higher and deeper, whatever the PhD is, but everyone gives that such respect because they know 1% of one aspect of one subject. It's like, wow, you're just jealous. You got a BA. You don't have a PhD. I'm like, what? I could write a 100-page, thesis and, give over all this information. That is worth something. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say it's not. I think people give it more credibility, certainly than it is. At the same time, you have to know, you have to know what it is. But they, in that 1% of one aspect of that subject that they know, so they can claim expertise in that. I think it's kind of silly in a certain way, but, a person's going to look at that and say, oh, look at this knowledge. Look what they're giving over. Look how much time, and effort. It's no different than a plumber. It takes, a year or two to learn his craft, and, he's going to go out. It's like it's like anything else. That's where, again, that's where, again, this is where the cognitive dissonance, sort of comes in. And it's probably, some people have the mentality issue, and some people just, are limited with funds. That, again,
right.
that is understood. That is not something, to sneeze at. I have a tremendous amount of compassion for that, as well. And, I got plenty of students that,
Sure.
haven't paid or paid, very little or whatever. And, I can stand on my high horse and say, you're not coming till you pay. People.
You know what's funny? I have, just to stretch this on into my professional field with my contracting. In the past probably 10 years, I've probably only got, I don't know, a very, very small, probably less than 2% of my business has come from advertising. The rest of it, 98% comes from like word of mouth. The ones from that have been through advertising, let me fast forward. In that percentage, there's been the ones who have basically nitpicked and nickel and dime my prices. Those were the ones that caused me grief during the job. The ones who was like trying to choke me over the money and trying to choke it down and trying to get the best deal and say, I just don't think it's worth that. And this right here, and I wound up working for them anyway. Those were the customers that I regretted the most because they gave me the hardest time. The ones when I go for all my word of mouth customers, I give them a bid. It's okay. When can you start? We go. Beautiful relationship. You know why? Because I respect what they need and they respect what I'm giving them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So in my case, certainly in my case as well. I got my dissenters out there like everybody else does. But at the end of the day, you want to get what you need. You definitely, you definitely get what you need. No question. Probably more than you ever bargained for. At the same time. But it's I don't know. It's a funny thing. It's not. If you think about it logically, this should be an absolute no-brainer. It's but it's a very emotionally charged thing because imagine someone comes out of Christianity, idolatry, whatever it is, and they finally say, this is the truth. I want to convert, and they live in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, or they live in I don't know, they live in Idaho or whatever the case is. Say, all right, now then they find out, they see one of my blistering videos and say, if you don't move to a community, you can't convert. They're like, wow, now how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
My house is worth something. And, they come to that realization and then it's like, it's super emotionally charged. That's what, many ways, that's what religion is. It's, and people finally see the truth. They come out and their family slams them. Siblings slam them. The community slams them. I spoke to someone a few weeks ago, and like they've been totally ostracized. The whole life was the church, totally ostracized. By themselves. It's an emotionally charged, thing where people just like go out of their mind. And like I said, I spoke to someone recently, and they are just so happy to have support. I didn't charge them for the phone call. They helped me with something, but at the end of the day, people want support. People want, because they've been, they've been slammed. So, a listening ear is a tremendous thing. Again, what you do with it is something else. But in general, in general, it has to be that someone's coming and you have what to give them to get to the other side. And that's got to be worth something. It's not, it's not going to be something that is, in general, that a person should think that, I should be able to get it for free. Yeah, you should, in theory. Like someone, I've heard a number of people say, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't charge money. Aaron didn't charge money. Yeah, but they were being supported by God himself. The Kohanim were supported by the people.
Yeah, that's right.
Their food came from the sacrifices. Moshe Rabbeinu was rich. God made him rich. Right? God took care of him. Right? You want to lead the Jewish people, you're going to be taken care of. I mean, today you see, tremendous rabbinical scholars. They're not rich by any stretch. The Talmud says you don't see a person that inherits both worlds, meaning this world, they're financially set, and by the next world, because money and Torah don't necessarily go hand in hand. You don't find people that have money that are rabbinic scholars. right? Very rarely, because they're too much, they're too steeped in their money and business and trying to hold on to their money and, and everything else. They say, well, you took on this, so you take on a lot of poverty. No, that's a Christian idea. We're not, people are not trying to, become rich here. I mean, if they are, it's wrong, right? But, at the same time, I don't know too many people who live in the lap of luxury. That's, that's the bottom line. And, I give Rabbi Singer a lot of credit what he's doing in Indonesia and taking his time and money and, and other things, setting up there. I mean, he doesn't have to do that. And he goes and he flies and this and that. It's, a lot of it's on his own. I mean, it's trying to raise money, not whatever. But, at the end of the day, nobody's living in the lap of luxury. If they are, that's wrong. If they're charging an arm and a leg, which is beyond what should be done, and there are plenty, there are people out there. And there are people that are fraudulent, which is a whole nother issue. Right? I don't know if you want to tap into that, but you got people that their conversions aren't worth anything, and they're charging tens of thousands of dollars, right? That's fraud, that's extortion, right? And the person's not getting what they need either. So that's a whole different, that's a whole different beast. I've certainly encountered that. I've certainly encountered that as well. So a person certainly has to be careful, with who they learn by, and what they tell you, the person themselves, has to be someone who's on the up and up, right? The Talmud says you want to learn by somebody, right? They have to be similar to an angel, right? No one's going to call me an angel by any stretch in different ways, but, you have to look at them like it's someone you respect. If they have bad character traits, for instance, and they come out and they're negative, one of my rabbis once told me he was learning by somebody when he was younger, and this person, absolute Torah genius. I mean, knew the Babylonian Talmud backwards, the